Alright, it's that time of the year again. After a pretty wild and unpredictable 2021 season, my top 10 driver rankings have changed pretty significantly ever since the last time I made this video, which was around the same time last year. So, who are the top 10 drivers this time around? Who are the top dogs as the 2022 Daytona 500 is about to begin? Well, let's get right into it, shall we? So at number 1 on this list, I'm gonna say it right now, it's Kyle Larson. Now, I know, I'm actually going a little bit against the norm here because this season, this one season that a driver having a good season will not override all of the mediocre seasons that they had like the years before. But in Larson's case, it is pretty special. We always knew that Larson was talented. It's just that, especially Larson fans, they said that he needed equipment. The main reason why Chase Elliott has always been regarded as the better driver than Kyle Larson is because he always had the better equipment. And of course, Larson fans have always said, oh, give Larson the same equipment Chase Elliott had, he will be just beating Elliott in every single category. And of course, well, I believe them to some extent. Like, I believe where they were coming from. I understood that. But I did not subscribe to that narrative because this was all based on an assumption. As we all know, back at Chip Ganassi Racing, Larson was elevating that mid-pack team to race winning contenders, to contenders for wins at some points. However, at other points, he looked like he was just overdriving the car and he was just making a lot of mistakes, shooting himself in the foot several times. And of course, when Larson fans started saying, well, he's got to be driving for Hendrick, because if he was driving for Hendrick, he wouldn't be making those mistakes. And of course, I was always saying, how do you know he wouldn't make those mistakes? That hasn't happened yet. For all we know, Larson could just overdrive the car the same way he has been overdriving the car at Ganassi, and he will be the same inconsistent self. Of course, that is what I thought before the 2021 season, because we had never seen Larson in a Hendrick car. But now that we had seen what Larson is capable of doing in a Hendrick car, there is no question that, yeah, he is the best driver. At some points during the season, I was just asking to myself, who allowed this to happen? Who allowed Kyle Larson to go to Rick Hendrick? This seems like a cheat code, literally. Larson on a Hendrick car, it seems like a cheat code. It seems like a match made in heaven. And even though I don't think he's gonna repeat, because I mean, it's pretty hard to repeat in this like playoff NASCAR era. It is very hard to go back to back. No one has ever done it ever since this elimination style playoff format happened. But the fact that Larson enters this season as a clear favorite to win, he could actually break that trend and he could become the first driver in the elimination playoff era to go back to back. Because as of right now, I don't see anybody beating out Larson right now. Even with this new next-gen car that is like a complete unknown, the way the car is built or the way the car is set up, it helps Larson's driving style a lot. It goes pretty well with Larson's driving style. So not only does he have the performance to back it up, but also the projection that he is still going to be as dominant as he was in 2022. To me, he's just hands down the best driver right now. I don't see anybody competing with Larson right now or taking that title away from him unless he or his team messes it up. Now, number 2 on this list is the second best driver of this past season in Denny Hamlin. And all I gotta say is this. Another ranking, another year where Hamlin is top 3, but not number 1. Like, seriously, ever since I started making like these videos of the top 10 drivers, 2020 was the first year I made it. Every single year, Hamlin has been 3rd, 2nd, and now 2nd again. He has been the most consistent driver ever since 2019. Hamlin has been the most consistent driver and has been the winningest driver during these past 3 years. He has won everything there is to win in this sport except one thing, and that is the championship. Like, seriously. The only thing keeping Hamlin from being the best driver, from being considered like the best driver in NASCAR right now, is the fact that he hasn't won a championship. I mean, seriously, if Hamlin won the championship last year, to hell with Larson having a stellar season, Hamlin would have been the best driver to me. But since he didn't win it, he'll just have to settle for being second, aka the best of the rest, aka the best driver in NASCAR not named Kyle Larson. Which is a good consolation prize, but as we all know, in racing, finishing second means you're the first loser. So number 3 on this list is perhaps the most underrated driver of this season, Chase Elliott. Now I know it's pretty crazy. How can the most popular driver and the 2020 champion be underrated? Well, the reason why, it's pretty simple. Kyle Larson is his teammate. And Chase Elliott led all drivers in runner-up finishes. And half of those were to, guess who? Larson himself. This pretty much means that it doesn't matter how good of a season Elliott had, he was always compared to Larson. And it was always a story of, oh, Chase Elliott, yeah, he is pretty solid, but have you seen Larson? Larson is just really killing it on every single track possible. Hell, he even beat Chase Elliott, the road course king, at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. Chase Elliott was the best of the rest, alongside Denny Hamlin. He was the best driver not named Kyle Larson. And that is honestly the sad reality of this situation, is that Chase Elliott would not be talked about in a very positive light as long as Kyle Larson is his teammate and as long as Larson is outperforming him. Now, of course, I said earlier that there was a narrative that I did not believe, the narrative that Larson was better than Elliott because Larson had never driven a Hendrick car. But now that Larson is driving a Hendrick car and we are seeing the results, I'm sorry, but I gotta give it to those Larson fans. They were right in believing their driver all along. Kyle Larson has finally proven on an equal equipment that he is better than Chase Elliott, and there is nothing I can do to defend that. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that Chase Elliott is a bad driver. It just means that it's a pretty bad situation for when Elliott gets talked about in a positive light. The only way Chase Elliott can be taken seriously right now, it feels like, is if he can beat Larson, which honestly is a pretty tall task. But with the next gen car being a huge equalizer, hey, maybe this is a chance that Chase Elliott needs at a full reset to finally catch up to Larson and possibly give him a serious fight for the title. As a matter of fact, right now I consider Chase Elliott like the best guy to fight Kyle Larson for the championship. But of course, that remains to be seen. Now at number 4 on this list is Martin Truex Jr. And now I gotta say this because I gotta address this really quickly. I was wrong. I was wrong about Martin Truex Jr. I thought after 2019 when Cole Pearn retired and James Moll took over, I thought that Martin Truex Jr. will never be able to win or even compete for championships. And his 2020 season was proof of that. He only won a race and he was pretty solid, but not like a race winner in most races. He was always a top 5 contender, but nothing else in 2020. But then 2021 came around and holy shit did he prove me wrong. He won 4 races, championship 4, and he almost won the championship if it wasn't for that final caution and a stellar pit stop by Kyle Larson. But Truex was actually catching Larson. The only thing Truex needed, I feel like, was 5 to 10 more laps, and he could have given Larson like a real fight for that championship. But of course, again, I gotta say, I was really wrong about Truex. Last season, when I made this video last year, I ranked him number 7 simply because I thought he was never going to be able to compete for another championship again. But him and James Small especially, they have proved me wrong. I gotta give a shout out to him because Martin Truex is really showing that he can still win a championship. I mean, he has finished ever since that 2017 title run. He has finished second in 2018, second in 2019, second in 2021. He has finished second in 3 of the last 4 seasons. If a few things go right for Truex, we might have been talking about Truex being a potential 4-time champion, which is pretty crazy to think about, but that's just how solid he has been this past few seasons. Him and Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch and I mean to some extent Harvick, which we're gonna talk about later, they have been the 4 most consistent drivers in this past 3 seasons ever since 2019. I feel like. So yeah, I gotta give it to Truex. He definitely proved me wrong, and he is deserving of a top 4 slot on this list. Now at number 5 and number 6, because I'm putting these 2 guys together because I had a really hard time deciding which to put at number 5. You could very easily like put one over the other, and I wouldn't be mad at you. But number 5 is Kyle Busch, and number 6 is Kevin Harvick. Right now I'm giving the edge to Kyle because he won a race while Harvick went winless. But at the same time, you could say also that in 2020, Kyle only won a race, and Harvick won 9, of course. I'm putting a lot more emphasis on their performance last season than in 2020 or 2019. But to give you my reasoning, I just feel like Kyle Busch has a few more years left in him, and while Harvick, I just feel like Harvick is close to retiring. And this coming season it's gonna be like a pivotal year for Harvick. It's gonna determine what the rest of his career will look like. If he bounces back and wins and starts winning races again, then yeah, he's going to. I believe he can race until well past his 50s. I know there has been a report that Harvick is planning on retiring in 2023. I mean, but however, we have seen drivers saying that they're gonna retire this season, and then they're not going to. They race past that year. Look at Mark Martin, for example. Maybe if Kevin Harvick actually has a stellar season and makes the championship 4 and wins a ton of races, then he probably will get it in his head that he can probably win another championship or compete for another one, and maybe he will race until well into his 50s, until like 2025, 2026. He could probably feel he has a few good seasons left in the tank. However, if he goes winless again, then yeah, I think he's gonna retire next season. Now, of course, why do I have Kevin Harvick at number 6? Is because I don't know how many races he will win. He's a complete wild card this season. I feel like he could either do really good or really bad. And I just feel like betting on Kyle Busch, who is still he hasn't even hit 40 years old yet. I feel like Kyle Busch has a more to give than Harvick. I feel like Kyle Busch can win more races than Harvick between now and 2023. I mean, he's higher than Harvick on the all-time wins list. So because of that, yeah, I have Kyle at number 5 and Harvick at number 6. But again, it's pretty close. If you put Harvick at number 5 over Kyle, I wouldn't be mad at you. I will completely understand why. They're pretty interchangeable there, in my opinion. Now, number 7. And this pains me to say it because I like this guy a lot, but I gotta tell it how it is. Number 7 is Joy Logano. And honestly, I gotta say it right now, Joy has fallen off. Now, of course, he's still the best guy at Penske on my list. Notice how I haven't mentioned any Team Penske guys on this list up until him. And that is because as the veteran leader, I still have some high hopes for him that he can turn his situation around. However, if he has another season like the one he had last year, where he only wins 1 race and then he makes it into the round of 8 just to be pretty relevant from that point forward, then in my opinion, I gotta hand over the title of best Penske driver to Ryan Blaney, especially if Blaney has a repeat of what he did in 2021. I'm still not ready to give Blaney the title of best driver at Penske simply because of one good season he had. He still needs to prove that he can build on that season. And I'm not gonna say Ryan Blaney is the best driver at Penske because of one good season that he had. He needs to prove it consistently, and that starts with him becoming the best driver at his team and winning more races than him and competing for championship 4 appearance. If Blaney has a repeat of what he did in 2021, while Logano only wins a race, then yeah, at that point I'm going to have Blaney over Logano as the best driver at Penske. But until now, here is where they sit. Logano will be number 7, Blaney will be number 8. And finally, rounding out this list, number 9, number 10 are the other 2 Hendrick guys, William Byron at number 9 and Alex Bowman at number 10. Now, the main reason I have these 2 guys and not guys like Brad Keselowski or Kurt Busch is because Keselowski and Kurt Busch, they're gonna be on new teams that are gonna be a downgrade to what their previous rides were. For example, Keselowski, he's going from Penske to Roush. Roush has historically been a mid-pack team, and while I believe Keselowski will elevate them, I don't know if Roush will be elevated to the point where Keselowski can still be a top 10 driver, especially over Byron or Bowman. Same thing goes to Kurt Busch. I know that 2311 has more potential to be a better team than Roush because they're driving Joe Gibbs equipment. They're very closely allied with Joe Gibbs. But at the same time, again, 2311, as of right now, is a startup team, and Kurt Busch has been brought in to just help bring that veteran driver presence to that team. And of course, they're going to be having a lot of, that team is going to have a lot of growing pains. They're still going for the growing pain phase, like one season, in just one season, they're not going to be good after just their first season, let alone their second. So I still believe that 2311, they will be a mid-pack team, although Kurt Busch, because of the driver talent that he is, he will be able to elevate them, similar to what he did at Ganassi. However, I don't know if Kurt Busch will elevate, like Brad Keselowski, I don't know how much Kurt Busch will elevate 2311 to the point where he will still be able to be a top 10 driver. So because of that, I had to take Keselowski and Kurt off the list. And I will put William Byron at number 9 and Bowman at number 10, especially since Byron, he had a great breakout season. Like, of all these young drivers that are like next up, Byron had the best season in 2021, and I feel like he can build on it. Now, Alex Bowman, on the other hand, he's simply here because he won 4 races. Like, he wasn't outside of, I know outside of those 4 wins, he was nothing special, but as we know in NASCAR, winning means a lot, especially in this elimination-style playoff format. Alex Bowman winning 4 races, whether he was at the right place at the right time, whether his pit crew won him the race, whether it was a clutch restart that he got, it doesn't matter. Alex Bowman was at the right place at the right time in those races. And of course, in order to have a shot to win a race, you gotta run top 5. And Alex Bowman was running top 5 in all of those races. In most of those races that he won, he was a top 5 car. Look at Dover, for example, the race where Hendrick finished 1, 2, 3, 4. Bowman was in the top 4 alongside his Hendrick teammates. You look at Richmond, Bowman was a top 5 car all race long. Pocono, he wasn't a top 5 car all day, but when it mattered the most, he was the guy that was chasing down Larson when he blew his tire. Martinsville, sure, he was all over the place. Sometimes he was top 15, but as the later stages of the race wound down, he eventually made his way up to the top 5. And of course, yeah, what happened between him and Hamlin was controversial, say whatever. But the fact that Bowman was in position to win that race, it cannot be overstated. Bowman is many people forget, Bowman is a pretty good driver. he wouldn't have won those 4 races if he wasn't in position to win those, if he wasn't running in top 5 in those. He has garnered the reputation of being a very clutch driver, and in this elimination style playoff format, I believe he can. That matters a lot, and because of that, I believe he can make. I don't know if Bowman can make the championship 4, but at the very least, I believe he can make multiple like deep playoff runs, like the one he had in 2020, where he can make the round of 8 and possibly be in contention for the championship 4. Possibly, that's still on the table. With Hendrick power under the hood, anything's possible, as was proved by Kyle Larson this last year. And finally, to wrap up this video, we have a few honorable mentions. First off, it's the aforementioned Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch. Simply put, again, the main reason why I do not have them in the top 10 is because it is very hard to predict how they will perform. For all we know, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, they might just elevate their teams to such an extent that they will be able to perform at a top 10 level like they used to last season. But because it is very hard to project how they would perform, as of right now, I have them outside my top 10. However, if they do perform at a similar level to what they did last year with their older teams, then yeah, I will reconsider putting them in my top 10 drivers list. Of course, there's also Tyler Reddick. Reddick showed a lot of promise last year, and I definitely believe he has next. As far as the next driver to get their first career win goes, I believe Reddick will get his first career win at some time in this season. But yeah, 2022 is the year Reddick will get his first career win, and he will definitely be the guy to bring RCR back on the map. And finally, the final honorable mention, not really a honorable mention, but I'm still gonna mention him anyways because he is taking over. He's taking over a ride that belonged to a top 10 driver last season, Austin Cindric. He's not a honorable mention per se, but I'm only mentioning him because he took over Keselowski's old ride. And as we all know, Brad Keselowski was a top 10 driver when he was driving the 2 car. Now, of course, I do not think Cindric will be anywhere close to the top 10. I believe he's going to be around that top 15-ish range, maybe. He will be somewhere down the playoff bubble. He might compete for a few wins on super speedways and road courses. And of course, he is my pick to win Rookie of the Year, simply because, again, it's not a big achievement because there's no competition. Like, his closest competition is Harrison Burton. And simply put, the ball is in his field. Like, if Harrison Burton wins Rookie of the Year, it's not going to be because he overperformed. It's going to be because Cindric messed up. I don't think he will, though. Cindric has come a long way since in the past 5 years, ever since that Casgrala incident at Mosport. He has really come a long way. He has really shown a lot of maturity, and he has definitely shown that he is Cup ready. I don't care what anybody says about him only being in Penske because of his dad. He proved himself. The guy proved himself. He was supposed to be in IndyCar, but then he switched over to stock cars. That was basically a full reset of his career. And that was back in 2015, 2016 when he made that decision. And he has grown a lot since then. So, while I don't think that Cindric will win a race, he will come pretty damn close and he will show some promise like this year. So, don't be surprised if Cindric makes the playoffs in his rookie season, because he definitely has it in him. And yeah, that's it. That's my annual list of top 10 drivers plus honorable mentions. Agree, disagree, tell me in the comments down below. Like and subscribe for more content, and peace out.